Good day, students. So, we are now on the third lesson under the chapter of Nature of Statistics, which is the data collection and sampling techniques. So, in this chapter, you're about to know the different method on how to collect data and the sampling techniques that you can use in your research and even in statistics. Okay, so for the learning outcome, okay, at the end of the lesson, you should be able to identify the four basic sampling techniques. So actually, there are several sampling techniques. So, but here in this lesson, we will be discussing. I'm going to discuss the four basic or the four common sampling techniques. Okay. Okay. So before we proceed, may I know uh, what word that comes up into your mind when you hear the word statistics? Okay, so it could be data, variables, okay, sample, populations, other thing. Okay, what? How about in terms of collecting data? Okay, so survey. Okay, actually, in collecting of data, there are several ways. Okay, or there are variety ways in collecting of data, but one of the most common methods is through the use of survey. Okay, survey can be done by using a variety of methods. So today, okay, we're about to discuss the three methods for collecting data. Okay, so specifically, okay, in terms of survey. So number one is through telephone survey. Next is mail questionnaire survey. And then the last one is the personal interview survey. So we will about to know the disadvantages and advantages of those three methods for collecting data. Okay, so let's start with telephone survey. Okay, its advantage is less costly. So why it's said to be less costly? Okay, because once you have cell phone or phone, even landline, you can conduct survey right away. Okay, so you don't need to go to the place or to the house of the person you uh, need to survey or to interview. Okay, just through phone. Okay, so this is less costly because uh, your expenses is just for your load. Okay, you don't need to have money or budget for transportation. Okay, the disadvantages of telephone survey is not all people in the population have phones or will be able to answer the calls. Okay, so it is true. So for example, you have a target population. So you are not sure that all of those people have cell phones. So even though they have cell phones, so you are not sure, okay, if they will be able to answer your call. Okay, another thing is unlisted mobile phones. Okay, so what if they have cell phone but you do not know their numbers? Okay. And then the last one is the tone of voice. So this is very sensitive part of uh, telephone survey. Sometimes the way you ask a person through phone very different. Okay, in the way you ask through face to face. So there could be a misinterpretation, and then the result may varies. Okay, so next is the mail questionnaire survey. Okay, its advantage is cover a wider geographic area and less expensive, especially when today we have email. Okay, so once you know the email address of the person that you're going to survey or to ask a question, okay, you can easily send. Okay, wider geographic area. Ibig sabihin, for example, you're here in the Philippines, you can conduct survey even in the other part of the world, okay, in the other country, even though if that person is living in America, okay, so you can conduct survey there. Less expensive, yun, nabanggit ko na kanina. Disadvantages, okay, so low number of responses. Okay. So kahit na nag-send ka ng maraming emails, kaya lang according to the study, mas mababa yung number of responses because siguro natatampunan yung email nila, di ba? Okay. Inappropriate answer to question. Okay, so since email lang siya, hindi ka sure if they really answer that question faithfully. Okay. The third one is some people may have difficulty in reading or understanding the question. Okay, so sometimes, dahil nga email siya, yung tao nahihirapang intindihin yung question. Okay, hindi naman sa mahina yung comprehension, kundi mahirap, kumbaga, kasi sometimes yung mga survey question ngayon is napaka-tricky ng tanong. Okay, napaka-tricky ng tanong. Okay, so next is the personal interview. Okay, advantage, okay, obtain in-depth response to the questions from the person being interviewed. Sabi nga, in-depth, yung talagang makikita mo sa mata niya, maririnig mo sa the way he responds, the person na ini-interview mo, kung talagang faithful ba, kung talaga bang totoo, and then pwede ka rin dyan magkaroon ng follow-up questions which is related to your study. Okay, disadvantage. Interviewer must be trained in asking questions and recording responses. Okay, sa personal interview, hindi pa yung tipong basta magtatanong ka lang. So, dapat yung interviewer ay trained kung paano yung tamang atake ng pagtatanong. Okay, so baka, which is not, offended, lalo na sa mga sensitive questions. Okay, yung mga nagsusurvey about mga rape victims sa COVID-19, so lahat naman sila, mga hindi aamin eh. Okay, so dapat pinag-aaralan kung paano inaatake yung tanong. Next is recording. So make sure na train yung interviewer in terms of recording responses. Baka mamaya yung pinaka-importanting bagay na dapat na malaman sa survey ay na-miss kasi hindi yun ang na-record. Okay, so disadvantage is most costly. Bakit? Kaya most costly kasi gagastos ka sa pamasahe para lang mapuntahan yung taong i-interviewin mo. Lalo na kung malayo. So, halimbawa, nagkanda ka ng survey sa Amerika tapos pupuntahan mo pa ba siya? Diba? Okay. And then, pag kasing personal interview, okay, kung 100 yung respondents mo, pupuntahan mo sila yung 100 na bahay nila. Okay, so what if malalayo yung distance ng kanila, di ba? Ng mga bahay nila. Okay, so those are the three methods of collecting data. So again, number one is telephone survey, next mail questionnaire survey, and then the last one is the personal interview survey. Now let's proceed to the sampling techniques. Okay, what are the four basic sampling techniques? So those are, first is random sampling, second is the systematic sampling, the third one is the stratified sampling, and then the last one is the cluster sampling. Actually, may tinatawag pang convenience sampling, snowball sampling, okay, technique, okay, so may mga ganun pa. Pero itong apat na to, ito yung pinaka-basic at pinaka most common na ginagamit na mga nag-research and then na mga studies. Okay. Okay, so let's start with random sampling. So definition niya is sampling is done by drawing lots or through the use of random numbers. Okay, yung keyword natin dito is drawing lots and then the use of random numbers. For example, Okay, a class list comprising of 50 names is cut into strips, so rolled up and put it in a bowl. Okay, 10 strips are being drawn from the bowl, and the 10 names that are picked are collectively called the simple random sampling. Okay, draw lots, bumubunot. So for example, in your class, ayan, sabi nga, composing of 50 students. Okay, kailangan ko ng 10. What I'm going to do is to write down all your names, okay, in a piece of paper, and then put it in the bowl. I'm going to pick 10 names. So, ang tawag doon ay simple random sampling technique. Okay, next is the systematic sampling technique. Okay, sabi dito, sampling is done by selecting the ith element in the population with the starting point determined at random. Sabi dito, it is obtained by selecting one unit or member of the sample on the random basis and then choosing additional unit of equally spaced interval using the desired number of sample is reached. Okay, so paano yung sinasabi na ith element? Okay, sabi dyan, yung I na to, it is the ratio of the population size over the sample size. So that is I is equals to capital letter N over small letter n, or I is equals to population size over sample size. So for example, okay, you have a population of 100, and then 50 doon yung kailangan mo. So 100 divided by 50 is equals to 2. So ibig sabihin yan, okay, every 2 element of your population, yun yung kukunin mo. For example, alphabetical. Kung ganong every 2 mag-start ka sa okay, every 2 element, mag-start ka sa 2. So those are even numbers. Pero pag mag-start ka sa 1, ito yung mga odd numbers. Okay. Systematic. So ito may example tayo. If the company has 50,000 employees, wishes to conduct a job satisfactory survey of 400 employees, then I is equals to 5,000 over 400. Yung 5,000 na to, ito yung total population size. And then yung 400 na to, ito yung sample size. Or approximately 13. So yung I is equals to approximately, okay, yung I is approximately equal to 13. Okay, so systematic randomization can be done by selecting every 13th person in an employment list. So maybe starting from 7 to be part of the sample. Okay, yung starting point ay depende naman sa sa nagsa-survey. Basta ang importante diyan kapag systematic, kailangan panglabing tatlo. Okay, you can start in any number randomly. So kung hindi necessary mag-start ka sa 1, pwede ka mag-start sa 5 and then magbibilang ka ng 13. So tingnan natin kung starting 5, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Okay, yung pag 17 na employee, kasama siya sa survey. Okay, so hanggang mabuo yung 400 employees. So that is systematic sampling technique. Okay, next is stratified sampling technique. Okay, so sabi rito, okay, sampling is done by first dividing the population into a number of non-overlapping subpopulation or strata, and then taking sample from each stratum. Okay, so ito yung mga new words sa inyo, strata and then stratum. So paano ba to? Okay, para maintindihan, ito yung example natin. Okay, so there are two procedures that can be used to determine the sample size per stratum. Okay, so stratified, may dalawang procedure. Number one is the equal allocation. Okay, ano yung sinasabi sa equal allocation? So, sabi dito, the intended sample size N is divided by the number of strata, K, in order to obtain the number of sample from each stratum. Actually, ito ay groupings. So, ibig sabihin, equal yung allocation mo, equal yung kukunin mo. For example, magkakanta ka ng survey sa accounting department. Okay, nandiyan dyan yung BSA, BSAIS, BSMA. So, yon. So, may tatlo kang grupo. Okay. Tapos, kukuha ka equal number of student per section or per course. Okay, para maintindihan, ito yung example natin. Okay, so sa isang kumpanya, merong 24 administrative staff, 38 support staff, and then meron namang 52 clerical staff. Okay, so if you wish to conduct a work motivation survey on 50 staffs, and if you are using equal allocation, ganito yung proseso nun. So mula sa 24, 38, 52 na staff, kukuha ka ng 50 staff to be as part of your survey. Sila yung mga sample size mo. Sila yung mga sample mo. Okay, so paano yung gagawin nun? So, ibig sabihin niya, from 30 staff, i-divide mo kung ilan yung kung ilan yung group na yan. So, in this case, meron tatlong group. So, administrative group, support group, and clerical group. So we have 50 divided by 3. Okay, that is approximately equal to 17. So, ibig sabihin yan, 17 ang kukunin mo sa administrative staff, 17 naman sa support staff, and then 17 din sa clerical staff. Okay, if in case na may kulang, magdagdag ka sa pinakamadaming staff. If in case na sumobra, magbawas ka sa pinakamadaming staff. Ganun lang yon. Okay, kasi kapag dinivide mo yung, pag minultiply mo yung 3 sa 17 sa 3, most likely kukulangin yan. Sobra ng isa. So, ibig sabihin, say 3 times 17 is 51. So, sobra ng isa, magbabawas ka ng isa sa clerical staff para maging kompletong 50. Okay, next is yung tinatawag na proportional allocation. Paano naman sa proportional allocation? Ito, medyo madami-daming computation to. Okay, so the size of each subpopulation or stratum is divided by the population size and then multiplied by the intended sample size. Okay, the size of each subpopulation or stratum is divided by the population size and then multiplied by the intended sample size. Okay, para maintindihan, ganito yon. Okay, another company having 24 administrative staff, okay, 38 support staff, 52 clerical staff, and then 10 contractual staff. And if you wish to conduct work motivation survey on 50 staff, and if you're using proportional allocation, this is the process. First, okay, you're about to add each member of the staff to get the population size. Okay, so we have 24 plus 38 plus 52 plus 10, and that is equal to 124. Okay, so paano yung gagawin ngayon? So sabi kanina, okay, so stratum divided by the total population multiplied by intended sample size. Okay, so yung stratum natin is 24 divided by the sample population size, which is 124. Then multiply by the intended sample size, which is 50. That is approximately 10. Okay, so 24 over 124 times 50 is approximately equal to 10. Okay, next. So 38 under support staff. So we have 38 divided by 124 multiplied by 50 is approximately equal to 15. Next, under clerical staff. So we have 52 divided by 124 multiplied by 50 is approximately equal to 21. And then last one is under contractual staff. 10 divided by 124 multiplied by 50 is approximately equal to 40. Okay, so try nating i-add tong lahat. So 10 plus 15, so 25. Okay, plus 21, that is 46, plus 4 is 50. So, kompleto tayo yun. If in case naman na sumobra sa 50, for yung nakuha nating okay, sample size, magbabawas tayo sa pinakamadami. Okay, if in case naman na kulang, magdadagdag tayo sa pinakamadami. Ganun yung gagawin natin para proportion pa rin siya. Okay, so yun yun. So 10 sa administrative staff, 15 naman sa support staff, 21 sa clerical staff, and then 4 sa contractual staff. Okay, so yun yung sample size natin. Okay, next is cluster sampling technique. Okay, ano sinasabi dito? Sampling is done by dividing the population into groups called cluster. So each cluster is representative of the population. Then the random sample is clustered, is selected. So finally, random sample of elements from each of the selected cluster is chosen. Okay, so example, suppose a researcher wishes to survey apartment dweller in the large city. If there are 10 apartments in the building, the researcher can select random, okay, 2 buildings from the 10, okay, and interview all the residents of this building. Okay, may sampulong apartment. So sa researcher, kukuha lang ng 2 building at interview niya yung lahat ng residente doon. Okay, so that's all for today. Thank you for listening and for your activity. So kindly wait for my announcement in Google Classroom. Thank you very much. God bless.